Well, good evening, Internet. It's me, DP Knudten, with a very special Bookward Bound tonight because I'm actually going to be doing a podcast recording with Paul Raimondo of Raimondo Media down in Perth, Australia. And we're going to be going live in just a few minutes. I'm about 6-7 minutes early, just making sure I've got all my audio feeds in the right place and that everything's working okay. And it certainly looks like it is on broadcasting out via Restream.io to YouTube Live, Twitch, and what's the other one? Facebook Live. Yeah. And I would be also doing it to LinkedIn Live, except LinkedIn won't give me that dang live access. Why? Who knows? Doesn't really matter, but I sure would like to get that one of these days. In the meantime, I'm going to be interviewing Paul about what he does down there in Perth, Australia with Raimondo Media. But I also want to talk to him deeply about one of the topics that I'm writing about in the book, which is Gary Vee's admonition to document, don't create, and what that means. Because Paul is a real great acolyte of that whole idea of documenting everything he does via video and then using that for his social media feeds rather than spending a ton of time creating scripts and recording stuff and all that. Instead, he records what's going on and then cuts it into compelling, relevant stuff for his social media feeds all over the place. So we're going to talk about that. He's going to be hopefully on the horn in just a few minutes. And in the meantime, I am going to make sure that everything is looking okay because I'm using YouTube, or I'm using Ecamm Live to go to Restream.io, which is going to YouTube Live, Facebook Live, and Twitch. So there's a little bit of technology involved, and sometimes I keep an eye on my computer to make sure everything's working okay, and it seems to be. And in fact, I've got my iPad over here is actually running the feed to Ecamm or to Restream.io, and I can see that I am in fact showing up there. So hopefully you can hear me. I should never assume that's going to happen. Anyway, so bear with me as I take a few notes before Paul comes on the horn of things I want to talk to him about. So one of them I already mentioned. Document, don't create. But I think I want to start out by saying Perth to San Diego. How does a Western Australian get on the stage? In the U.S. at Social Media Marketing World. And when I do these podcasts, I don't have a lot of questions. I don't make a lot of questions, and I certainly don't send any in advance because I want to have a real conversation with a real live person. And the only way you can do that is if they aren't sitting there with prepared answers for everything. Sometimes they're thrown for a loop. Sometimes they don't want to answer, and that's fine. I'm happy to skip any questions that they don't want to answer and stuff like that. But I do want to get the real guest, not the programmed guest, not the scripted guest, not the bullet point guest. And, the guests that I have always have their ducks in a row when it comes to their philosophies and their products and their services and stuff like that. And they know how to talk about it, so it's never really a problem. In fact, out of 106 episodes, I think there was only one or two that felt like there was a little bit of teeth pulling going on. But for the most part, because I'm so careful about who I bring on the show, it's not a problem. In fact, the biggest problem I have is trying to take 1 hour of conversation, which actually turns out to be an hour and a half to 2 hours of conversation, and turn it into 2 half-hour episodes, or two under half an hour episodes. So we're about 2 minutes out from Paul logging on, hopefully, because while it's 6:30 p.m. Central Daylight Time here in the US of A, it's the next day and probably around 9:30 in the morning in Perth, if I'm not mistaken. But then I might be. But he'll be on shortly, and we will get talking. But the reason I'm doing this as part of the BOOKWARD BOUND live stream is that this is really one of the big content buckets that I pull from or I draw from when I write the book, because I definitely have ideas, the ideas that I want to have in the book, but it's great when I can pick a person who can truly illustrate those ideas in action. And it's not just me pontificating, it's me laying out the concept and then having someone tell their story and actually prove that concept to be true, valid, and valuable. So there's that. We are about a minute out. And what else do I want to talk to him about? I don't know. I just want to find out what's going on down there, because, you know, Australia I find fascinating and a whole lot different than America. Let there be no editorial comment made there. Okay. I'm going to kill my notifications, which could be a problem. All right, so I'm going live to YouTube. Cool, 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 cool. All right, so all we're doing right now is waiting for Paul to log on to Zoom. And that's one of the things I should maybe talk about too. I'm using the free Zoom membership or subscription, whatever it is, and it allows you to record conversations. And I've tried some other higher end recording situations for my podcast, and the difference is negligible. You know, I know that when Zoom records it, it compresses it and it turns it into a MP3 and all that stuff. It's not lossless. It's not a WAV file or an AIFF. But when I get the stuff down and start working with it in editing the podcast, it sounds great. It sounds only as good as the microphone on the other end of the conversation, which sometimes I have absolutely no ability to make sure that it's a quality one. So Zoom audio, does it work for podcasts? Yeah, it does. And have I tried more expensive forms of doing that? Yes, I have. Is the difference worth it? Not to me. It may to you. Your mileage may vary, but I'm telling you what my mileage is. All right, so here I am waiting for a call that may not come. But it should be, so let's just stand by. We are live. Hopefully he got the message. Two. E162, yeah. All right. Everything looks cool. Yeah, Ecamm Live looks cool. Everything looks cool, so standing by. Australia. Perth, can you hear us? Perth. Hello, Perth. Hurry up and wait. E162, yeah. All right. Where are we? Good question. All right, I'm going to email him. You know, this is one of the problems trying to schedule with people out of the country and in a different time zone and on a different day, because today here in the United States, it's a Thursday, but that means it's Friday in Australia. And as I said earlier, this is the end of my day. It's the beginning of his. So it can be a little bit of a challenge making this stuff work. So you got to keep your grace about you and understand that the best laid plans of mice and men aft gang agley. Although I'm going to look up timeanddate.com. Time zone converter. Wait a second. Yeah, so he's +8 and I'm -6. Yeah, it should be 9 a.m. or not Sydney, Perth. I gotta look up Perth. Yeah, so 7 a.m. So it might be a little early for him, or 7:30. Yeah, 7:30 a.m. So should be 7:41 in Perth. So he might be stuck in traffic. Maybe. So I'm just going to hang. Quite literally hang. There we go. get the feeling we might have to close this off for the day. At least until figure out what's going on. All right. I don't think things are happening tonight. All right. Well, the good news is my system seems to be holding up, pumping out Zoom and Ecamm Live at the same time, which sometimes it has a little bit of problems with, or at least my internet connectivity does. I'm going to give it 3 more minutes. 3 more minutes, or 3 more minutes. 3. American 3, European 3, or German 3. That's what I learned from watching, what was that Quentin Tarantino movie? Where Michael Fassbender gets killed because they realize he's not a real German because he said 3 people instead of 3 people. Inglorious Bastards, that's what it was. All right. 1 minute. One more minute. And then we're going to reschedule, Paul. All right. That takes us to the 10 before the hour. 20 minutes hanging on the line. That's long enough. I'm going to close this off for tonight, but hopefully we can get Paul on to actually do this podcast record at another date and time, because he's a really great guest with a lot of great stuff to impart, but evidently it's not going to happen tonight. So that's it for me tonight. Thanks for watching this incredibly boring episode of Bookward Bound, my 301-day journey from I should really do this to done. Well, you can see it's not always easy to get stuff done, because you got to depend on other people and all that stuff. So this is part of the whole process. So not the most exciting episode, but certainly one that illustrates the difficulties of writing a book, especially if you're going to self-publish it yourself via Amazon's Kindle Direct Publishing platform. I'm DP Knudten for the Nonfiction Brand podcast, which was supposed to be recording right now, but we'll do that at a later date and time. And I will see you tomorrow. Until then, theme music, take us on out.